Welcome, everyone. Get started in 2 minutes. 2 more minutes. Let everyone trickle in. In the meantime, DJ Ricardo Perez will give us some tunes to listen to. All right, DJ. I think we're ready to build a elementary hybrid model. Dr. John Bose, would you like to kick us off for this evening?
Thank you, Dr. Moon Choi. And I hope everyone joining us has power and is warm and dry in their home. The last 2 days have reminded me of my Peace Corps experience in the highlands of Guatemala at 8,000 feet, where it was cold, rainy, and regularly without power and before the existence of the internet. So thanks for being here this evening. We are going to record the meeting and share it and the survey links with those who we know are not able to attend. There's still parts of Davis throughout town lacking power or internet coverage. Couple important board updates. On January 19th, the board adopted two motions to help provide us some guidance forward. And one describes opportunities for on-campus engagement, extracurricular, co-curricular, and curricular. If you happen to be a parent, you'll be receiving surveys in English and Spanish about your ideas for extracurricular activities for on-campus engagement, and we're working with site teams on co-curricular and curricular, and excited about being able to provide those opportunities. The board also passed a motion determining the internal and external variables needed for a safe return of students and staff to campus. Internal variables, most of which are completed or just about done, include MERV 13 filters, air purifiers, asymptomatic testing on all of our campuses, saliva-based, making sure our Cal OSHA plan is operationalized to ensure safe practices are happening at all of our school sites, and having all the necessary PPE, cleaning, disinfecting routines, and resources available. The two external variables include making sure we are in the red tier for 2 weeks and making sure that all employees have had access made available to them of two Pfizer or Moderna vaccination shots, and with up to 2 weeks to recover if needed. So with those internal and external variables, conditions in place and being met, we're ready for a hybrid model. Then on the 21st, the secondary hybrid model was approved. And it is a model that ensures that teachers and students maintain the same class assignments. And that's reflective of our guiding principles of continuity, compatibility, and equity. and we received a lot of good input from staff, from families. I think universally, staff and families let us know there is a priority to place on maintaining classroom and teacher assignments. And we heard, pretty strongly from teaching staff that a simulcast or Zoom in the room was not a model that provides a lot of efficacy, different than the secondary model, where that Zoom in the room or simulcast was the preference of choice. So most important at the meeting was how supportive and appreciative the board was of the action team task force and the SAL advisory group. This work is complex, nuanced, under a timeline, and not easy. We're in uncharted territory. But thanks you, and I thank you in advance of your work tonight to help us reframe our elementary model for presentation at our next regular board meeting on February 4th. Thanks again, stay warm and dry, and you'll see with us tonight as observers some of our Board of Education, President Joe D'Annunzio, Vice President Tom Adams, and trustees Betsy Hyder, Vigdis Asmundsson, and Leah Dara. Welcome all. Back to you, Roddy.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for braving the weather, and much respect and gratitude for being here tonight. It takes a community to build out the work that we're doing in this uncharted territory. We also recognize that there has been an enormous amount of work that's been happening on the part of staff, the action teams, or staff on the ground, and our parents and community members in this work. But we realize that it's important to have a process to conduct the amount of outreach that we have. It's part of our effort to go slow to go fast, essentially, because it helps us build a shared understanding of the complexities of this work. We're also able to access shared contributions from everyone, and that just gets us to better iterations, better outcomes, and ideally to have better relationships when we're navigating very, very difficult uncertainties right now. So as Dr. Bose mentioned, we're coming back to the drawing board after last week's board meeting regarding the elementary hybrid model. A lot of work went into that model, and along the way, we learned quite a bit, and the implications began to surface. And so now we're going to reevaluate those implications through a revision of that elementary model. And as Dr. Bose also mentioned, the core issue tonight is calibrating the trade-offs of this hybrid model. There is no perfect hybrid model. So what we need to do is find the balance of trade-offs that are appropriate as aligned to the principles that we've outlined to get us through this pandemic: compatibility, continuity, efficacy, equity, and so forth. And so what we're wrestling with, and I think some of you are seeing this, is that there are various levers within the hybrid. So for example, if we wanted to increase in-person time within the hybrid, then we're going to see that an outcome, a trade-off might be broad classroom reassignments in the teacher shuffle. If we don't like that, and that is outside of our tolerance, and we try to mitigate that, another trade-off may be the simulcast component. And as Dr. Bose mentioned, maybe that we heard from our teachers, we feel that is pedagogically unsound based on the cognitive development of our youngest students. At the high school, we felt, or at the secondary level, we felt that was okay. So what we have done based on the feedback from the board and the work of the action team is put together another revision, a draft. We are on draft 8 of the elementary hybrid model, and taking into account this feedback that we have. And what we're going to do this evening is spend some time providing a comprehensive overview of that draft so that you can better understand the ins and outs. Then we're going to we're all going to go into breakouts to process and understand, and then we're going to do a formal evaluation of that work. So let's hit the next slide, and I'll give you more specifics on the agenda. Bo? Thank you. So we had our opening, a quick update on our process. You've all seen and heard and been a part of our process. The revised model overview, as I said, is a thorough description of the model that is in front of you that we sent yesterday. However, we brought many representatives from our team to speak to various implications by department. So Ricardo Perez will speak to English learner implications. Director Patrick McGrew will speak to special ed. Laura Juanitas will speak to health and safety. Marcy Bernard will speak to technology, and Matt Duffy will speak to the features, the structural features of that model. And that way we can address all the important details. Following that, we'll move into breakouts, small groups for processing and discussion among you all, because you have important perspectives that we want to hear. And that is going to be a time for you to take notes on implications that you see, to offer suggestions for problems and challenges that you see in the model, because there are going to be challenges that we need to overcome. That is where we need you to offer friendly suggestions. And this is also a space for you to document your questions. Everybody, like I said last time we met, has a lot of questions. And so the more questions you put into that note catcher that we're going to have for you in the breakouts, then the better I sense that we have of the questions in the community that we can incorporate into our board presentations, into our district communications, constant contact, and ultimately the family guidebook, or our overview of the hybrid model when the time is right. So thank you for all that input. And then at the end, we're going to cut it a little short in terms of our time, to give you time at the end of this meeting to complete that same hybrid rubric survey you completed last time. This data is very, very important. This is how we aggregate kind of the evaluation and impression on the part of our superintendent's advisory team, so that we can show to our board, we can show to our community how we as a community have assessed this particular model as it's aligned to the important criteria that you all created back in November. So this is coming full circle. And the other thing is, we already had our action team do an assessment using the hybrid rubric survey. Days all blur together. Day before yesterday, I think. Yesterday? I can't remember. Anyways, we have that data, and we put that alongside your assessments so we can see how everyone's feeling about this particular model. Okay, so action-packed agenda for today. Next slide. And then again, you've seen this slide many times, and this has been our roadmap to phase 3, the steps we've taken to develop the hybrid model. Again, highly inclusive, very process-oriented, as transparent as we can be, and in leveraging the collective wisdom of our community. We collected the data and surveys in November, developed the reopening criteria with you all in November as well. Have spent the last 6 to 8 weeks working with our elementary and secondary action teams to develop and iterate the hybrid model. The model selection, that salmon colored bars, is where we are, and we're going through cycles of iteration and continuous improvement between that salmon bar and the blue bar for the reopening models. So we're being very thoughtful, meticulous about process, following the feedback you all give tonight. We'll make any appropriate revisions based on your feedback. We made some after the action team 2 days ago. And then we're going to prepare our formal recommendation to take to the Board of Education next Thursday on February 4th. Okay, that's what we've got going on. So everyone, sit back if you got some, if you have pen and paper, or if you want to take notes on your computer based on what you hear, that might be helpful for the breakouts. And we are going to jump into the description now. Director Duffy.
Great, thank you, Roddy. I just want to echo Dr. Bunchoy and Bose, thanking you all for being here tonight to offer feedback, suggestions, and questions about the model. So looking at the elementary hybrid model. So this revised elementary model was designed taking into consideration the feedback of staff, the community, and Board of Education. It seeks to elevate the considerations of maintaining continuity in classroom configurations and minimizing any teacher reassignments. We also heard from many teachers that they have worked hard to establish distance learning routines, instruction, and class connections, and report that students are learning in this environment. We all agree that we want to have students on campus in person, and this hybrid model seeks to take a step to getting more students on campus while maintaining safety protocols and providing equal access for students remaining in distance learning. In this proposed model, each class is divided into 3 groups: A and B, learning in person part of the day, and Group C, continuing to learn from home. 4 days a week in the mornings, all students will participate in distance learning, following the same schedule teachers currently have established, including the daily morning class meeting. Compared to the previous plan, this model does reduce in-person instruction from 4 to 2 days a week in the afternoons, with Group A attending on Monday and Tuesday, and Group B coming to campus on Thursday, Friday. The time slot below the dotted line of between 8:30 and 12 represents dedicated instructional time for distance learning, or Group C. It's intended to replicate the learning objectives that Groups A and B receive during the afternoon block. As the size of this group will vary by classroom, teachers will have the flexibility in when or how this instruction will happen. And it could occur in small group or individual settings as dedicated time in the morning distance learning block, or by inviting students to Zoom into the afternoon in-person time. Similar to the previous model, Wednesday is a full distance learning day with time for teacher preparation, collaboration, and planning. Also, as in the previous model, TK and kindergarten students will be on the same schedule, and sites will use additional classrooms to provide space for these groups. Next slide. All right, this slide reviews the hybrid model attendance for Groups A, B, and C, with A and B coming in person 4 hours a week, and Group C receiving the same dedicated instruction virtually each week. The smaller group time will allow teachers to focus on differentiated instruction, physical activity using outdoor spaces, and building critical social connections. Next slide. Wednesdays will start with a whole class virtual meeting. Teachers will use this time to build class connections, provide social emotional learning opportunities, frame the work and activities for the day, and explain any asynchronous lessons and assignments. The remainder of Wednesday is designated for teacher preparation time, collaboration, and staff meetings. Teachers of special subjects such as library, music, or science, as well as academic and social emotional support providers, will have the flexibility to schedule meetings with individuals or groups of students on Wednesdays. Looking at group assignments. Students attending the hybrid model will be assigned to participate in an A or B group. In forming these groups, it'll be a priority to keep elementary siblings on the same attendance schedule. Staff will also work to maintain balanced size groups using some of the same criteria currently used to make classroom assignments. Okay. Consideration will be given to A and B groups to coordinate attendance days with siblings at both the secondary and elementary levels. All right, next slide. Great. As overviewed on the schedule, students attending in person will be on campus 2 afternoons a week for a total of 4 hours. During asynchronous time for all 3 groups, students are assigned independent work by their classroom teacher. As distance learning, synchronous instruction will continue and the in-person times allow for small group instruction. Asynchronous instruction will include extension activities as a follow-up to in-person teaching, independent work similar to homework, and assignments using our digital curriculum. Special education, English learner services, and academic support such as reading or math will have the flexibility to be delivered as push-in and pull-out during live instruction, during the asynchronous student time in the morning or afternoon, and on Wednesdays. We've learned this year that, like interventions and supports, we need to maintain flexibility in scheduling IEP 504 and student study team meetings. Teams will have the flexibility to work with staff, parent, and student schedules to hold these meetings during live instruction using substitutes, during asynchronous student time, or Wednesdays, on Wednesdays or after school as needed. Special subjects such as library, music, and intermediate science for grades 4 through 6 are scheduled during the student at home or asynchronous hours and will continue to be delivered through a distance learning virtual instructional model. All right, next slide. Let me see, I need to grab my notes here. All right, thanks. Grab me back to my notes 1 second here, excuse me. I lost my side. All right, and thank you. Sorry. Student Nutrition Services will provide grab-and-go meals at the end of each afternoon session. These meals will either be delivered to the classroom or available for quick pickup as students leave campus. The meal will include a breakfast and lunch for the next day. Room cleaning will occur each day in the afternoon after students and teachers leave classrooms. At the elementary level, recess is a critical and favorite part of the day, and an important time for students to socialize and build connections. A staggered recess schedule will be built at each site, limiting grade levels and groups on the playground to allow for spacing. Teachers and campus monitors will relieve each other during this time to build short breaks into the afternoon. Finally, the transition back to school is an important opportunity to focus on building community, and we will need to be intentional about learning new routines and protocols. This will be part of our professional development for staff and an important focus of the first several weeks back on campus. We will also maintain our focus on social emotional learning, embedding the signature practices we established at the start of distance learning into each day and helping the entire class stay connected in the weekly Wednesday all-class meeting. We'll give an overview of technology, health and safety, English learners, and special education in the next slides, and I'll turn it over to Technology Director, Marcy Bernard.
Good evening, everyone. Turning to technology, several new realities will be in play in the context of this elementary hybrid model or a return to campus. Number one, Canvas. Teachers and students continue to gain aptitude and confidence in the use of Canvas for instruction, assignment management, grading, collaboration, and more. Canvas has what we call LTIs. They are learning tool interoperabilities, which allow many other platforms that we use for instruction to integrate seamlessly into Canvas. Number two, BYOD and one-to-one technology. DJUSD is currently in the process of implementing one-to-one technology in preparation for a hybrid or return to campus. Upon students returning, we will be a one-to-one district. In grades TK through 2, students will use Chromebooks that are on carts in each classroom and each have access to a Chromebook for use at school. They will not carry the devices between home and school. Any student in need of a Chromebook or internet hotspot for home will be assured such access. In grades 3 through 6, every student will have a designated Chromebook or laptop that will stay and travel with them between home and school each day. We anticipate 25% or more students will bring their own device. We call this BYOD. Any student opting to use a district-issued Chromebook will be assigned one for the course of 4 years or until graduation. Okay, number 3 would be headsets and document cameras. We are providing headsets and document cameras and distributing them currently for any instructional staff who requests one. These tools provide benefit for both distance and in-person instruction. And number 4, bandwidth. DJUSD has done an assessment on bandwidth usage, and we believe connections to all sites are now adequate. We have increased the connections for bandwidth to both Davis High School and the district office. In the past 3 months, we've also upgraded the DJUSD firewall in order to accommodate these increased network speeds. And that's it for technology. I would like to pass this presentation on to Associate Superintendent Laura Juanitas.
Thank you and good evening. So health and safety measures continue to be integral to the elementary hybrid plan. And some important points are that social distancing of 6 feet will be maintained between students and staff in the classroom and outside. Face coverings will be worn on campus by staff and students at all times unless medically exempt. There will be frequent hand washing and time to do it, as well as the use of hand sanitizer. We will have daily regular cleaning and disinfection of rooms and high-touch areas. We have daily self-screening for health that will happen at home by all students prior to coming on campus. Students will be continually encouraged to stay home when sick and email our COVID-19 reporting line when somebody is sick. We have a very robust contact tracing and quarantine program in place. And we are currently implementing weekly staff and student saliva testing on DJUSD campuses. Currently, we have it on the Harper, Valley Oak, Patwin, and Montgomery campuses, and we will be expanding to up to 13 campuses. So frequent training and retraining of young students is going to be necessary as we help them to comply with health and safety protocols. District nurses have already created and posted to our district website training modules that parents can begin reviewing now with their students as they prepare for a return. And when we return, district nurses will provide virtual and in-person health and safety training to staff, students, and parents. They will also continue to be a visible presence on elementary campuses to provide additional training and support for students. So now I'll turn this over to Director Perez.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent Juanitas. Good evening, everyone. Targeted English language development supports for English learners are individualized to their level of proficiency and specific need. In this hybrid model, English language development, or ELD, will continue to be a priority and will be provided by the classroom teacher and/or the English learner specialist. Interventions will be prioritized for English learners that the staff have identified as needing extra supports. This hybrid model prioritizes and provides the time for this important level of support. Finally, LPAC assessments, such as the Summit of LPAC, will be administered by EL specialists and English learner paraprofessionals remotely, much like it was done in the fall with the initial LPAC. And now let me pass this on to my colleague, Director McGrew.
Thank you, Director Perez, and good evening to everybody. In this hybrid model, the special education services will be delivered through push-in and pull-out models during the morning all-synchronous instruction block and during the morning virtual small group / intervention block, as well as during the afternoon in-person instruction time, intervention time, and classroom work time. Students receiving intervention support may be on campus receiving support services on days other than their group's scheduled hybrid days, and students who participated in small cohorts during phase 2 may remain on campus daily to receive special education services from phase 2 cohort leads. The Wednesday afternoon collaboration time is essential for special education and general education teachers to coordinate plans and to implement universal design for learning principles to ensure that all students can access the curriculum. I will now pass the presentation to Director Allen.
Next slide for me, please. Good evening, all. So we're about to ask you to join into breakout rooms because it's our belief that this is complex and there are implications, suggestions, and nuances that we are better off making meaning of in small groups through dialogue. Director Duffy and I are going to jump into those rooms, and we'll be putting into the chat a link to a Google Doc so that you can capture the 2 prompts here, the implications for the model that was just presented to you, as well as any feedback you have or friendly suggestions. I would like to say that we're noticing that the chat has lots of comments, feelings, and questions. It's really appropriate to get that in that note catcher so that we can process all of those in one space. The other thing that I wanted to share is you're going to be put into random groups, which means of those 4 or 5 people, you have diverse perspectives as parents, as staff, as specialists. And it's really, really important to us that we take the time to listen to everybody, that there's equity of voice in your group. So I'm going to suggest this as a protocol. And it's a pretty simple one. It's that everybody goes once before anybody goes twice. And the same thing goes, everybody goes twice before somebody speaks 3 times. At some point, you'll hit a natural cadence and it's a dialogue. But what we're learning in these small breakout groups is people process in different ways. And sometimes people need to pass and then be welcomed back into the conversation. So we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak. We're going to give you a good chunk of time, I think about 45 minutes, and we're going to pull you back at 6:15. Again, we'll send you some notes through a little banner if we need to give you any prompts about when we're going to be closing up. And we're going to shove you into those small breakout rooms in just a moment here. Bo, if you're ready, we can do that.
Jessica, are you there by chance? Jessica, if you can hear me on your phone, you may have to click a number associated in order to move. There we go.
And then Joe and Tom, would you like to be put in a random group?
That would be great.
All right, well, we have all returned.
Thanks, Bo. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for rich discussions. And I know there's never enough time, but there, particularly with a subject this big, but we appreciate you taking the time to process the implications together. And we've been following the notes just so we can get a good idea of some of the big issues that are coming up in your chats. So before we wrap up and move on, just want to let you know, in every single one of our meetings, just like last time when we were together, when we came out of a conversation, we always try to find a time to address our social emotional wellness, because face it, everybody's stressed right now. Our students are, our staff are, our families are, our community is, because we're coming on a year of a pandemic. We're all working as hard as we can to do what's right for ourselves and for everybody. So it's important with that in mind to keep on breathing, just like Dora, right? And Nemo, just keep on swimming. So we actually build this in a structured way. This little exercise is going to take us about 12 seconds. It's called box breathing or Navy SEAL breathing. Navy SEALs do it too. Very simple. Just imagine a box. What you do is you inhale for 3 seconds, hold it in for 3 seconds, exhale for 3 seconds, and hold for 3 seconds. So go ahead and center yourself. Make sure you're comfortable. Sometimes good to have your feet flat on the floor. And then 3 seconds, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Okay, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. I know still a lot of questions, a lot of comments. We're aware of it. We're tracking. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to move into, we have your shared kind of collective feedback on the note catcher, and we're going to be taking a look at that as we have been throughout the past 45 minutes. Now we need your individual assessment of this hybrid model. And again, just what we're going to do with this is aggregate that data together so that we can see where our advisory stands in an evaluation, a comprehensive evaluation of the hybrid model. And we will present that to the board next Thursday. Remember that this survey is coming off of this rubric here. It's 5 categories with health and safety, efficacy of instruction, social emotional learning, equity and access, and structural compatibility, for a total of 23 indicators. So you got 23 items. We also appreciate it when you put in comments in the comment section so you can qualify some of your responses. Troy, I think, already put the survey in the chat. And so what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up on the early side, like in the next 2 minutes. And you can use this time right now. We actually ask you to do it now because we need to close the survey this evening, preferably if you can wrap up by 8 o'clock. And what the reason why is because first thing in the morning, we are crunching this data because we have to move quickly to pull it together and to make sense of it so that we can put it together in a cohesive document as part of our board recommendation. So please, please, please complete the survey all the way to the end, to the submit. The more, the better. The more responses, the better, as it will help us move forward with transparency and eyes wide open to the realities of this model, the challenges of this model, and the opportunities of this model. Okay, Dr. Bose, do you want to send us all off?
Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for your work. February 4th, an important meeting where we will be taking your work, that of the staff action team, and a revised elementary model. Very much appreciate your time today. Any effort you can put towards completing the survey, critically important, so we can round out our work tomorrow in preparation for Thursday's board meeting. Everybody stay safe, warm, and dry. Be well, and take care. Much appreciated. Bye-bye.